Okay, fellow babies, welcome back to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. If you are a Patreon patron or if you are a YouTube subscriber, thank you. You're getting this content real time. As soon as we publish it, you have access to it. If you are doing neither of those things and you have an Amazon Prime account, please try to remember to link that to your Twitch Prime account. We get paid every month by Amazon. You have to re-up that every month. So follow the instructions in the show description below and you can get that linked. It costs you nothing. It's a perk of Amazon Prime and we get paid anyway, so good for us. Okay, from SIFTD, from Jeremy Lin, Jay Lin, Sony plans to make 2 million units of PlayStation VR2 by March of next year. Is it smart to manufacture so many units for launch, or does it not matter? What do you think the final price will be? What do you think it should be? Will it be a success if it launches in early 23? Would Sony be smarter to wait for the world economy to improve before releasing it? A lot of questions there. I think the economy is probably going to be okay by March, so that timing is probably right. It's honestly, monetary policy is tough. Supply chain disruption is tough. The strong dollar makes the economy a mess in the U.S. because we can't export. So that really impacts. I mean, we can, but nobody wants to buy our stuff. The good news is the strong dollar means imports are really cheap, so that works in our favor for inflation. So what's going to happen is cheap imports are going to lead to lower inflation, which is going to lead to quantitative easing, which is going to lead to the economy expanding again. All this should sort out by March. So I actually think the timing's pretty good. 2 million units. I can't remember now. Sony said the PS5 sales 20 million, 25 million, 20 or 25.
20 was the last announced.
Yeah, and that was like December 31st or something, or January. Yeah, so they're at 20, and that was last January. They're probably around 25 right now. They'll probably be around 35, by March. 2 million. I mean, it's marginally over 10% attach rate. I don't think that they'll get that the first day, but they'll get that the first year. So no, I don't think 2 million is a crazy number. Pricing matters. If it's $500, they aren't going to sell very many. If it's $100, they're going to sell out instantly. And the answer is somewhere in between. I think so. And I haven't seen all the specs, but because it is this one's wired as well, right? I think it's wired because of power and power and weight. I think a price point of under 300 would guarantee a sellout. I think a price point of over 400 would be disaster. And so the question is, what Sony hope to gain? Do they, can they make this thing for less than 300? That's the right question. If they can manufacture it for less than 300, they should sell it at no gain, and they should try to get it out there and then make money on the games. If they can't manufacture it for less than 400, then it's going to cost $400. If they can manufacture it for less than 300, it'll be less than 300. I think it's a resounding success at 249. I think it's less successful, at each increment above that, and it's a resounding failure above 400. So I would say they'll sell 2 million units at $299 pretty quickly. They'll sell 1 million units at $399, and they'll sell fewer than 1 million at north of $399. What should they charge? $249. What's Oculus cost? $399, right?
Oculus Quest was $300. They just increased the price to like $350.
Yeah, $350. So that's the competition, and that's the problem. It's that your Oculus Quest is a standalone, self-contained CPU, GPU, screen, HMD. Everything works. Where your PSVR2 is not self-contained; it requires the PlayStation to work. So you already paid for the entry fee, $500 for a PlayStation, and so I think that they kind of have to price it competitively with Oculus. I think that anything over $349 is going to be perceived by a consumer as too expensive. I get that it's more. I get that it does more, right? But it does more because of the processor that's built into the PS5. And I don't. Again, I'm no expert on the specs. I can't tell you that the HMD has a better screen or worse screen than Oculus, probably better, but I can't say that it's worth another $100. And I can't say that the sound is better, for example, maybe, but is it worth an extra $100? So it seems to me like you get a lot for Oculus Quest, and that's going to be the comparison for consumers. So over $349 becomes problematic. I mean, again, knowing Sony, they'll charge more because they can, but I'm hopeful that they can cost this thing out at under $300 and charge $300. That would be a good solution. That's the best I can do because I don't know. My suspicion is that they signed a manufacturing contract and they signed a bunch of component supply contracts that kind of required them to build 2 million to make it work. That there is some scale to all the different pieces that they're putting together, that if they bought 1 million, it would have cost them $50 a unit more to make. And if they made 2 million, they could kind of get away with doing a one-time run, make 2 million, and then adjust the production thereafter. So my guess is that that they figure if the attach rate is 10%, we're golden. If the attach rate is 5%, then by the time we get to 40 million PS5s, we'll sell our 2 million. And if they're going to be at 35 million by spring of 23, they're going to be at 40 million by fall. So they're probably okay with a 5% attach rate, and I think that's probably what went into their thinking. But I don't know the answer. Again, if they charge $1,000 for it, there's no way they're selling 2 million. If they charge $200 for it, they won't keep them in stock for more than a week. But in between, that's where it gets. And it really depends on the games. I mean, if this is Google Stadia and you buy this really cool VR system and there's no games, then who cares? I mean, I know that they had a lot of games on PSVR. My guess is that there will be, what was the Spacebot, Astrobot? That was a fun game. They should be able to remaster all that and make it look really, really cool. And I'm sure that there are a ton of games in development right now. So
not backwards compatible with PlayStation VR1.
But they can redo those games.
They want to spend the money on a game that sold 30,000 copies.
But the good ones. But they had 5 or 6 really good games. Like I said, they'll remaster those. Yeah, that's all. I mean, they have a lot.
So far, development for PlayStation VR2 is maybe a third of what the first one was, because a lot of people got burned and they don't want to go back.
Right. I think there's too many players in the VR space. I think Oculus is doing a bad enough job on its own that you don't need 2 guys doing a bad job. And Oculus is committed. Like, they're not going away. They're not discontinuing. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, but I wouldn't worry about the economy improving. It's like we're not entering a global depression. That's not going to happen. We have too many people employed, and even if you see like the stuff that's interest rate sensitive, like housing, I wouldn't want to work in like home building right now or anything, but honestly contractors are super busy doing repairs and additions. Everybody's employed, so people are eating and they're going out and they're taking vacations. I just booked a trip to Oakland of all places, and the cheapest ticket I could get on Southwest 2 months out was like $290. Yeah, it's like, so, and that's because Southwest has that much demand for for the Long Beach to Oakland corridor, and they can charge it. And I don't even bother shopping because it's what it is. So I could have bought the non-refundable thing where you're the last guy to board, but I'd go on a business and the thing might change by a day, so I had to do refundable. But it's really expensive for like short trips. Same thing, I just went to Vegas and it was like $400. Yeah, it's just like they're getting you. Funny, I booked a trip to Boston, it was like $6. So, cross country, not that expensive because there's not that demand. But the short trips, that just tells you how much demand there is for people to travel. And people complaining about gas prices, I mean, as they should. It's because they're driving. Like, we're out. Every time I go out on the freeway now, there's traffic. It's crazy. So, we are not in a recession like we've understood them in the past because everybody's got a job. And if everybody's got a job, we're going to get out of this. So best thing to do is just consume things that have value to you. But keep spending money, you're helping somebody else get a job. My guess is that the whole production process takes like 6 weeks, 8 weeks. So they'll watch what they do with the March units, and they'll take pre-orders. If they sell out fast, they'll line up production at 1 or 2 million a year thereafter. The setup costs money, but that's why I said 2 million. You can get away with it if you make 2 million. You can't get away with it if you make 100,000 a month. The setup will kill you. But if you make 2 million, yeah, people will do that. And it goes into the cost. I mean, if you make 2 million and you're paying $50 assembly, those guys are happy. They're making $100 million on their assembly line for a few months' work. If you want to pay $10 a unit for assembly, then you have to be like the iPhone, manufacturing year round. So that's really the problem is that you pay up to get your capacity for a short period of time. They did that. I'm sure they're fine. Thanks for joining us on Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. If you're a Patreon patron or a YouTube subscriber, we really appreciate it. You're getting this real time. If you are an Amazon Prime member, please link your Twitch Prime account to your Amazon Prime account. The instructions are below in the show description, and we get paid for that, so we very much appreciate that. If you're doing none of those things, follow me on Twitter at Michael Pachter. I'll see you next time.